And starting, I really echo the messages that were here, that I heard here also from Yael and from Tammy, that it's really a translation work that is being done between the world of academia and industry, different motivation, different incentives, and there is a great art of connecting them both and really creating alignment between these two worlds. And I think at Teva we understood that we need to design a new strategy regarding to academia, and specifically with the Israeli academia. And our strategy says that we would like to start early. So early as possible, even from the ideas part. We meet with the professors, we brainstorm with them, and we build the projects very, very early. And why early? So we can work together. We can mentor, we can train, we can do some of the tasks that are very complicated for the academics, and we can save time by it. We can save mistakes. So we believe that working together from early parts, maybe will make the project longer. Maybe we need more patients, like Yael mentioned, but on the long run, the products and the medicine that will be developed will worth the efforts. So it's really, we think, an alignment of motivations. If the professor needs to publish, or if we want to understand what is really in the core interest of the lab, we need to find out. We need to do also efforts from our teams inside Teva and work together. So we really make a lot of efforts in this. And I think the COVID-19 days, we cannot avoid, it wasn't mentioned so far, but I think this is a really time-changing for us to understand the importance of working together as academia and industry. And we really see that things can move faster by working together, and why this alignment. And the question is, how do we continue working together like this, not when there is a joint cause and Teva is making a lot of effort with the distribution of the vaccine and so on, but how do we do it beyond the COVID-19? And what are the bottlenecks when regulations and other obstacles were removed? What are still the bottlenecks in working together with the So just a few words about the academics team of Teva. It's a global team, and we are doing mostly scouting around the world with the top universities, but in the last 3 years we really focused on the Israeli academia, and our focus was on finding new targets and new molecules. We kind of kept the history of the Copaxone and Azilect, and we thought about the Israeli academia as a real partner for a long journey, as I said, to start early. The academic affairs team, and we have a representative here in the audience, is a team of scientists, also working and engaged with the European Union. We are members of over 8 consortia in different fields of the Innovative Medicine Initiative. So there's a lot of work done with academia in Teva. And let me focus on the Israeli ecosystem and what we did. So in the last 2.5 years, we made a very strong mapping of the Israeli academia around the focus area of Teva. It's very clear for us Israelis why should Teva work here in Israel, but for the R&D management that is sitting mostly in the US, in Australia, as a global company, it wasn't obvious in the clear as it was for us. So we made a very long process of mapping of over 500 labs around the country in the areas of focus for Teva, and over 100 startups. We continued with meetings of the R&D management here before the COVID-19, and then virtually also, and thank you to all the universities that really opened the doors. And we sat with the professors directly, brainstormed, thought about joint projects. From this, we assembled a list of 50 projects, and we started over 30 projects in the last 2 years. I'm also thankful to the Innovation Authority that also takes part in these grants. But in 2 years, over 30 projects is I think it's a tremendous effort of all sides, and I'm very thankful for our partners in the tech transfer. And most of the projects are sponsored research, but also, as I mentioned, the government grants, which are very helpful. This year we had our first licensing agreement from the Israeli academia, and we hope really the main target of these projects are to find the next Copaxone for Teva, and to bring the a new Israeli drug into Teva's pipeline very soon. We do our mapping with a lot of tools, not just regular literature, but also AI and smart scouting. This I can tell also afterwards if people are interested. And from this very large mapping, we found a lot of strength in the R&D in Israel, in the academic collaboration in Israel. What are we focused in? We are focused this year on biologics, mainly antibodies, fusion proteins. We found a lot of strength in the academia, in the CNS field, in the neuroscience, brain delivery technologies that we are engaged in. Immunology, there's a lot of strength in the academia, immuno-oncology, immunotherapy. Beyond that, protein engineering, antibody engineering, big data and AI, I guess also Nobel will relate to it, and our new incubator that is just open, and the unique access to biobanks here in the HMOs and in the hospitals is a great advantage. From the R&D management, that as I said is sitting in the US, there was great pleasures to see how welcome was the universities and the tech transfer. And it wasn't obvious after the hard years that Teva went through that there will be such a welcome from the universities. As I mentioned, the grants are a big incentive for us. And again, the obvious part of the geographical advantage, it was very hard, it was very important for us to prove that it's more than a geography, there is a reason to be here. And this, I think, we proved. So as I said, in the last 2 years, we started large collaboration with Tel Aviv University, with Weizmann, with the Technion, with the other universities. And it seems that we are on the right track to really develop the next big grant. I just want to emphasize the importance, I think it was mentioned here, the importance of building an ecosystem around you. It's not just that you make this collaboration or that collaboration, it's really important to build a community here, and we really believe in training and mentoring. And that's why in the last 2 years we opened also a Bio-Innovators Forum. It's a student it's a forum for training of PhDs and postdocs that really learn from Teva's experts, but also from the entire bioecosystem, how to translate their ideas from the lab, how to shape their thinking towards a product, towards understanding the outside world. And it's a very successful program that is now also starting the 3rd year. It's open in your universities, so please direct students and PIs to this program. At the end of the year, we make the Biomix competition that is presenting the idea of these students to their led startups and so on. So it's a really enjoyable forum. Beyond this, Teva offers also a course for drug development and discovery. Already for the 7th year, hundreds of students took this course. We just opened it yesterday, actually, in Tel Aviv University, Weizmann, and Bar-Ilan University this year. It's a virtual course. I also recommend everyone that wants to understand the basic elements of drug discovery and development to join this course. And just one word that I think Nobel will relate maybe a bit later on. It's the new incubator that Teva and the other partners, Merck, Pfizer, AstraZeneca, are just opening these days for AI technologies that can improve drug discovery and development. It's exciting to collaborate not only with academia, but finally also with the other farmers here. And as I said, it's a part of building an ecosystem that you are connected to all parties in this puzzle, and by this you're not only advancing your own company, but you're helping the entire ecosystem. So that's my message for today, and I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you very much, Dana. Just a minute to be. I have to say from my hat as a remote CEO that we really feel the energy and the sources allocated by Teva for collaboration. We appreciate it and we hope it will go on. Okay, Sylvie.
I was just wondering how you refer to tech transfer in Israel only with 5 universities and you ignore 22 of them.
No, we don't ignore. It's a process that we started.
That's what your presentation suggests.
No, that's the process that we started. The mapping was done in all the big universities. We are on an ongoing relationship with all of the universities. And there will be, I'm sure, a lot of opportunities for projects in the future, but it's taking time to build it. We are not rushing into projects that are not in our main focus. We really want to work together on things that are really at the heart and the focus. So it's a process.
Jacob?
Hi Dana, I'm here as a co-chairman of the ITTN. First of all, I was really impressed by what you showed here in the slide. I didn't expect so many collaborations. By Teva, it's great that you came back to the market of the TTOs, and I'm very happy to hear this. But I want to challenge you with something. The Copaxone agreement was signed in 1987, when I just started my army service. Many years have gone before since then. And the architect also came from the Israel University. As far as I know, unless I'm unless I'm mistaken in something. Yeah, no, I know. I'm saying that I think since then there are no currently, at least not in progress stages, any products from the Israel Academy. So I want to challenge you with something. Those products are great, but I think that the KPIs and the targets of Teva should be in 2 years to have in the clinical pipeline of Teva products coming from Israel. It's very good to create an environment and support researchers and PhD students, and the incubator in the forward is an amazing thing, but put in your agenda.
Jacob, these are the seeds.
No, I'm saying, I want to come in 2 years and see products in the clinical stage.
This year we already had our first licensing of a molecule from the Israeli Academia. I cannot give more details, but we are on the right track, and that's the goal.
So are you
that's
sure
why
that we will see clinical pipeline in 2 years from now with products coming from all the great universities that are represented here?
Thank you, Jacob. Neil?
You mentioned that you start very early.
yes.
What is the formal relationship you have with academia at those early stages?
So it's mostly sponsored research agreements. Sometimes we take a few labs that are working together, sometimes one-on-one, depends on the project. But we start very early. It means that it can be from an idea level. So
there's no contractual commitment.
A sponsored research agreement with basic rights.
There is a legal contract. Usually it's an option at this stage. We're not entering into the commercial details because we don't know if it's going to work. And I think that these soft agreements and commitments allow us to do so many. And this is the secret. Because if you try to do multiple 40 pages license agreements, it's not going to happen. So you have to do the seeds and the soft agreements, and then hopefully something will get up.
I think this way of working with pharmaceutical companies is very common. This is also our wish that the company will be interested in a project or in laboratory and start via sponsored research. It's more right also for the academic person. This is what Yael mentioned before, and Noga said that the ability to work with the scientists, teach them a lot about what are the specs that the industry is looking for. So in our office, one of the KPIs of the business development people is to bring sponsored research agreements. It's very important. And the company has some option, right of first look at the results, and then if it's good, so then we negotiate the license agreement.
We have to move to our next speaker.
Sorry, no presentation, but I can present Merck almost by heart. So first of all, thank you very much for inviting us. I think it's important to have those dialogues, so happy to be here, not virtually, so face-to-face eventually. And mostly I'm very proud to really present Merck and our prospect as a company that's stays here and has Israeli presence for more than 5 decades. So in Merck has 3 business sectors. We have pharma as one business sector, we have life sciences tools as a second business sector, and we have chemicals mainly for the semiconductor industry as a third business sector. And with everything that we do in-house, the realization that we need external innovation is very strong. We keep looking at many things out externally, both the academia but also additional things. And it's very important for us to keep on looking at things that are innovative and agile. As the mothership company being more than 350 years old, it's a slow process. The innovation, the internal innovation takes time, the pipeline takes time, and being in touch with the ecosystem is very important to keep the productivity going on. One thing that we have noticed with the years is that there is no one template fits all. We need to have a toolbox of opportunities of how we connect with the ecosystem. One thing that we do with the academia is we try to have multiple ways to connect. We do use sometimes the grants of the Israeli Innovation Authority to start very early things and get it de-risked by looking at MFARs, magnetones. We've done many of those. Later on, we do also research agreements and research collaborations when we see that there's potential for a lot of strategic fit with our business sectors. And of course, we also spin out companies, and we've spun many companies out of the academia. One really interesting story, I think, in Merck is our electronic R&D section in Israel called Q-Lite. This is a story that actually started in the academia, in the Hebrew University. We started with the interaction with the professor as an OFAR program. Later on, we really liked the project and the way it went. We weren't sure about the fit to Merck, but we encouraged the university to spin it out as a company, and we continued collaborating with the company. Later on, this is a process that took something like 10 years, but later on Merck acquired this company, and now Q-Lite is actually the business center for the electronic R&D in Israel of Merck. So there are many ways that we can contribute and seek those opportunities. M Ventures has worked in Israel, spinning off many academic projects into companies. We have Metabomed, which is our flagship company, really already working for 6-7 years, with technology that was spun from the Technion, and now is raising Series B with investors from all over the world. So a very successful story, and Ventures is currently investing in 8 Israeli companies in the same process. 8 companies in a portfolio of about 60 companies worldwide is quite nice for little Israel. So again, we're very proud about the technologies, the innovations that come from Israel. We have plans to increase it. Coming up in the future, we will think of additional programs and extend our toolbox of interactions with the ecosystem. Dana gave me the opportunity to talk about the new ION labs. Sorry that I don't have the slide, but happy to tell you more about it. It's really a great initiative that really, on global scale, 4 big pharmas came together to build an innovation lab that could focus on novel AI-based tools to any challenge that the industry or the pharmaceutical companies can bring on board. We had a terrific process internally and for the whole group of pharmas that are the co-partners of this initiative, we work together with our R&D, internal R&D, to define what are the most urgent challenges that they can come up with, and list them and prioritize them. Currently challenges that there are no solutions to. We want to bring the great minds to think about it and advance it. After doing it internally, we've worked together with the partners to do a mutual workshop. First of all, it was nice to see that there's overlap. We all suffer from these similar challenges in the pharmaceutical world. But there were also some initiatives that were very unique. And we've listed those, and we just recently, in the last few days, came up with the first challenge to the ecosystem. It's open to everybody, globally, to the universities, to academic professors, to students, to entrepreneurs. It's open to everybody to come up with solutions that we will establish as companies to solve those challenges that we defined and put together on the table together. So thank you.
Noga, any questions from the audience to Noga? Okay, so we'll move quickly to our last speaker, Aviv.
Okay, so hello everyone. So Israel Innovation Authority is actually quite a new entity. It's only 4 years old, and therefore we are trying to reinvent ourselves somehow to be relevant for the ecosystem, the Israeli ecosystem. Of course, we are focused on the industry, but we see the academia as a major partner, as Doro has said before. And we are now working with 4 specific, I would say, business or investing units. One of them is for growth, actually the biggest one. The one is for startups. There is one for manufacturing, and I'm responsible for the knowledge creation. And we do understand now that the knowledge creation is sometimes the biggest market failure. That's probably the reason why my unit is becoming bigger and bigger. This year we'll spend more or less 400 million shekel investment. That's why, as Dor said, we've increased the part of the academia, and we will probably increase it a bit more. We understand that we are working more in environments of VCs that has a lot of money, and they are investing directly in the mature stages, and therefore we have to be in the early stages. And we are also trying to adjust our tools for this. So I want to go back for this specific point that Karen has mentioned before about the fact that the academia is able to establish more and more startups, and we have to adjust our tools, our mechanism to follow that. And we did some big changes in this year. So one of them was the fact that, of course, for the incubators we allow year zero, but I also want to talk about the fact that we used to accept, allow, I would say, fund only a project in the academia if we see a very specific Israeli company which is able to take it from there. And we understand by now that we cannot keep on with this approach. We understand that the TTOs are able to establish very good and successful startups and companies and grow them, and that's why we accept the fact that if there is a good business plan and the TTO wants to establish a startup, we will approve this project. And I would say that by now we are more or less funding 55% of all the proposal coming from the academia. It's a huge success rate if you compare it to relevant funds all over the world, government funds and even private funds. And
Aviv, does that mean that the shift that you announced, I think it was a year ago, maybe less, from Kamin to Nofar, in order, to have a business partner, does that,
yes, we have cancelled it. It was a demand, I would
That's
say, of
really good announcement.
yes,
Thank you.
yes. Past managers. I don't want to mention the names, but I would say that I've decided not to accept this. I would say this recommendation of funding on a project with Israeli industry going along with. So we are now, we will approve any kind of project. We want to see good projects, that's what we want, and we fully understand that the professors are now able to establish their own startups in any specific field. I have to, we were talking a lot about biology here, but I would just want to give you the example of quantum computing. We don't have hardly have any Israeli industry in quantum computing. We understand that we are really behind in this area, but we see it as a strategic area. And we went to visit the different professors. For us, the knowledge in quantum computing is only in the Israeli Academy. And we visited a few of them, and we understand that any industry that will be created will be based on the knowledge of those professors. And those professors also said, we don't want to create the company. We want to stay in the academia, and this is okay for us. So we don't want to push them to transfer the knowledge too early. We don't want to push them to transfer it also too late, because we understand this applied research needs to be matured in the right way. So we accept different options. So we want to be very flexible in those areas. And now, for instance, in knowledge commercialization, we had in the past, we were only approve it if we see that the professor has no connection to the company which is taking the knowledge from the academic. Now, okay, we understand that the professor might need to work one day at the company to transfer the knowledge, and we will accept this still as a good knowledge commercialization project or knowledge transfer project. Something which is the Israeli academy would like, but we also understand that sometimes the knowledge comes from other academic partners we have around the world. This is also okay. We prefer joint venture, which means an Israeli academia and a foreign academia coming together and working with a potential Israeli company. But this company can be also a startup. In the past, nobody would create a magnet consortium, an Israeli consortium, which is based on startups. We've completely changed our idea. Now we have more and more consortiums which are completely built on academia, startups. I would give a name, for instance, in quantum communication. This is, the coordinator is a company which is started in the Israeli Hebrew University. Also in quantum computing, we might go for some companies that were based on professors from Weizmann and the Hebrew University. We are okay with this, and this is a complete mindset. As I said, we have put this year on applied research in the academia 70 million shekels. We directly only in the academic research. A bit more or less 100 million will be given next year for the academic partners through the consortiums and knowledge transfer. And I want also to say that we are not so focused on biology usually, because we don't have enough companies to establish a consortium usually, but we as part of this mindset, we are establishing more and more bioconvergent consortium. We have approved, well, probably tomorrow they will get a notice, but we have approved altogether this year 5 different projects on biotechnology, or I would say bioconvergence, and we see it as a main focus, and we understand the knowledge in those areas is almost entirely in the academia. we are there to help you building those consortiums. And we are also very open to hear from you what is needed to be done. I mean, just last example is the fact that we are not paying directly the academia. We understand that you don't have a motivation sometimes to initiate a project with the companies because companies break down in the middle. And so we have completely changed our way, and now also in consortium and in knowledge transfer, the academia has its own, I would say, file, and we are paying directly the academia. And in case the company is bankrupt, we are okay, we find a way and we are paying directly the hospital or the academia itself. I did it, I think, at least 5 times in the last year. So we want to give you the motivation to work with the Israeli industry, but we see you as, I would say, you are the new Israeli industry, I would say.
And you are a great partner, and thank you for the good news that we just heard. Thank you. Before we break to the break, someone has any question? Aviv?
So we I'm the one asking the questions, but first of all, I'm very happy to hear the nice things and the progress. As I said in my greetings in the morning, I don't know if you had the chance to listen to them. First of all, I really call for, as a taxpayer now, for much more transparency. We want to understand what kind of projects you are supporting, what areas are of interest to the Innovation Authority, what are the definition of the goals, what is a good project, what is not a good project. And also, I think it's good also for the great universities representative, also the other seat, Tami and Karen and all the other friends from the tech transfer. I think you have to put the tables, show how many grants per university, who are successful, who are less successful, who are more successful. Let's rate them, let's do a competition, and it will be transparent. And if I'm at the industry, I can give you an example. I try to look for projects in ophthalmology. I came to each one of the tech transfer companies. I asked for ophthalmology project. I got none, 0, okay? And I went one by one. And I think that it's very important to see this transparency, who are the leading organization, where the money is going to, and again, there is a market failure in the life sciences. I have nothing against the cyber, but I think the cyber can survive alone, the IT can survive alone. You have to support more the life sciences, the real bioconvergence, and we want to see it as taxpayers and also at the ITI, where the money goes and what are the criteria and the success rates.
So I will just answer very shortly because I know we are on time pressure. So first, we have on our website a list of all the companies and academic partners that were funded. We don't have a very specific explanation, I would say, or a mention of the knowledge itself, because we also understand the need for some I would say intelligence, commercial intelligence. I'm not sure how to say, but there is the fact of privacy which is needed by those who submit for us proposal. So we only submit the names. This is the transparency. We will start this month a new experiment or a pilot about, I would say, detailed protocols. You will not only get two lines about what the reason that.
Hallelujah.
Sorry?
Hallelujah.
Yes. So you will have also the names, not only the names of the investment committee they just were sitting with me, but also what were the major topics that were discussed, and you will be able to respond for this. This is part of our transparency, and we don't have strategic project. We do. Why? Because in specific areas there are different market failures. So if we coming back to quantum computing, so we don't need to fund directly the professors for creating new knowledge, because there are like 200 professors now working on quantum computing. But we will need to push for more consortium and knowledge transfer of this knowledge. So we don't have specific targets, and for sure in cyber we hardly invest anything on cyber.
Hope this is working now. So we had a joke when my dad retired from the Hebrew University. He was a scientist in genetics. We had a joke that my lecture in his retirement meeting was how we did not become millionaires. So how didn't he patent all his projects in the university? And I think that what the Israeli Innovation Authority is doing now, together with a revolution, let's say, in tech transfer office personnel, is really changing this landscape. And I want to give a kudos from us, I guess, from everyone who has an incubator. We're partners in eHealth Ventures. It's just working. So the change of mind, there are things to do, Yaakov, I agree with you. The transparency, the protocols, who are the people and why, these are things I guess all of us are looking forward to hear and learn from. But I think that this is really the state of mind of the Israeli Innovation Authority is mind-blowing to most of us in the industry. I agree.
I would like to add something that we totally with Yaakov, since the IIA is a kind of a due diligence process that is doing to the technology, and most of the industry is not aware of that. For example, Teva, that is looking only for 5 universities. Sorry, it's not you personally, but it's Teva in general. So I totally agree with Yaakov to be transparent to the industry, not to us, but it's very important for the industry to understand what kind of projects are funded and what is their success rate. Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia. I would like to thank all the panelists for being here. Thank you very much. Have a short break and then we'll convene here in 11:30.